We're glad to have you with us. Now, during the week, the Senate had a public hearing on the hike in electricity tariff. It was a chance for the Minister of Power, Works and Housing to explain things from the perspective of the executive. Here's the report.
On February 16 this year, the Senate at plenary asked the Minister of Works, Power and Housing, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC), as well as electricity distribution companies to immediately suspend the new electricity tariffs that have seen charges raised by over 40%. The Senate also directed its committee to hold a public hearing to get the views of stakeholders on the electricity tariff hike and how to move the sector forward.
Invited guests, gentlemen of the press.
This is a public hearing with government officials, labor unions and industry players in attendance. Officials from the labor unions in the electricity sector are voicing their displeasure at the increase in electricity tariff and notes that they were not consulted before the decision to increase tariff was made.
Now, they equally gave instances of countries that that are paying higher than Nigeria. I asked, what is the level of poverty in such countries compared to Nigeria? Nigeria is one of the worst countries with the highest level of poverty. Where you have the indices is 1 million people to 1,000 megawatts all over the world. That's the global practice. Now you have 170 million Nigerians battling for 2,000, 3,000 megawatts. That's the level of poverty. You can mention such countries that they are generating 500 megawatts. If their population is 2 million people, it will go down. The level of power, the average will be high. And if there's no power and tariff is going high, there's no way you can prove it. And I needed to say this because when you bring this closer to the issue of demand and supply, you look at the issue of what is the source. We have mentioned gas. We have Mambila power plant, hydro, that could give you almost 4,000 megawatts. Mambila alone, through water. You have Zungeru, that will give you almost 1,000 megawatts. You have you have coal. South Africa, as of today, it has over 40%, and even France, of power generated through the coal. Nigeria is talking about gas, and the cost of gas is extremely high. So if you talk of PSCN is privatized because people are not performing, did you give PSCN 200 billion power intervention?
The Minister of Power insists that the increase in electricity tariffs is unavoidable if the country must enjoy steady power supply.
Of course, when I resumed as minister and I was told that there was going to be a tariff increase, I was the first person to say it would not happen. That was my first reaction. And the immediate past chairman of NERC said that the only thing he would advise me to do was to listen to the discourse. And some of those issues have been referred to here. And the discourse we are making it very clear to us that if we did not give them a market-reflective tariff, it meant that government would have to carry a continuing cost that accumulated to in the region of about 1 trillion naira. Because the truth was that tariff had been increased in 2015 and then reversed because of the electoral significance. But the debts that they created were not reversed. So, to be clear, sir, we were not insensitive to Nigerians or to their challenges. We were looking for the best way to solve what has become an over 60-year problem since 1950, when Nigeria first created ECN. And it was clear to us that if we did not take some of these decisions, we will continue to repeat some of the errors of the past. And that yes, tariffs may initially look excessive, but when we count and measure the downtimes and how much time is lost and opportunity that is lost when there is no sustainable electricity, and measure them against the expectation of sustained electricity over time, the cost then perhaps will be cheaper.
But lawmakers insist that the federal government needs to urgently address some critical problems in the power sector.
Our challenges are really facts. These are not rhetorics. One, are we being charged without meters? Yes. Two, the privatization, have we been getting the expected yield from that? Fact. Fact two, the fact that the hydro usage is not being optimized. Fact.
Although government is insisting that it is not insensitive to the plight of Nigerians, the hike in electricity tariff without a reciprocal increase in electricity supply in many areas in the country is a bitter pill for many Nigerians to swallow.
Let's move now to a motion that was considered by the Senate on the issue of lead poisoning in Niger State.
The deaths and environmental degradation caused by the lead poisoning in Zamfara State in 2012 is still very fresh in the minds of many Nigerians, and most are yet to comprehend how relevant authorities failed to prevent a recurrence in the country. About 4 years after that incident, the latest of such damage has repeated itself in Chikira community of Niger State, leading to the death of 28 children.
Environmental testing of residential buildings during the same survey indicated severe contamination of the environment. The Senate notes that a complete environmental assessment recently conducted in the two villages calls for urgent remediation. Aware that a preliminary remediation plan and budget had been developed by experts and awaits funding by the federal government.
The motion enjoyed the support of all the senators as they speak on the damages caused by illegal miners on the people and their environment.
Young people, for economic reasons, for lack of jobs, lack of opportunity, and lack of care, have taken into the road of illegal mining for survival. It has reached a point whereby they expose themselves to a lot of health hazards. And what we do about it each time things happen in Nigeria today is we show concern, we condemn, we send delegation until it happens again. How can a nation that is working towards establishing a nuclear plant cannot do anything about addressing the problems of lead poisoning? So I think what this Senate can do on this issue is to take the activities of illegal miners seriously and to also ensure that the relevant authorities that are concerned pay serious attention in terms of inspection, in terms of attention to things like this, and also in terms of taking measures to those who are directly responsible.
That done, the Senate President gives a verdict on the matter.
So the relevant committees of solid minerals environment ensure that the Ecological Fund releases the fund quickly, and Ministry of Health. I'm particularly concerned as regards the issue of the loss of lives that is actually going on and lack of remediation, of course. And I hope our relevant committees will ensure proper oversight so that this money can be released and we can save the lives of a lot of the children that are exposed presently. Thank you.
Also at the plenary, the Senate asked the federal government to provide relief materials to Nigerians affected by a fire incident in Gagamari refugee camp in Niger.